worked as a Brady Bunch. I'm thinking
this one goes 1084. That probably goes to Gardens Island.
Which one?
1084.
1084.
The one like half past 3.
Okay, let's start on 1084 then. Okay, Gilligan's Island theme song. Is anyone taking conducting class? If there is one here, you are. All right, you are conducting for us. Please stand up.
Am I?
Yes.
Stand. Can I just sit tall?
No, you may not sit tall.
Oh, okay. She gave a time.
I don't want to sit tall.
Should just get at the front so we can all see her better.
A McDonald's stirrer.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, that's better.
All right.
Okay. Do you want me to film her?
Yes. Okay, this is 1084 on page 1057.
Ready?
Gilligan's Island theme song.
2, 3, and
1 at half 2.
Half past 3, a single bird in the silent sky, propounded a single tone of cautious melody. And half past 4, its pyramids subjugated text, and lo, her silver principles blinded all the rest. And half past 7, element from galaxy. And this was the word of presence was
conference between. Conference between.
Nice. Let's sing. Maybe we should like do a whole segment of the video. All the poems.
Emily agrees.
No, I don't.
Emily can be the soloist. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Part of this is that the meter for Gilligan's Island and the Yellow Rose of Texas and all that apparently is hymn meter. It's a particular kind of hymn meter, but I'm not a music expert by any stretch of the imagination. But she was, and Dickinson is one that I think it does help a little to know a little about her past, but boy, it can be dangerous if you go too far with it. Because then suddenly people are like, oh, she's just obsessed with death because everybody in her family died, or not everybody in her family, actually it was her friends. She did have a lot of friends who died when she was young, like teenager young. But you don't want to go too far with that, okay? She was a social girl when she was young. She did get out and had friends and went to parties and did the typical teenager-y kinds of things that you would have done in the 1800s. She is known to high school teachers as the one who always wore white and hid in her room and never went out and just was obsessed with death, and it just gets she's weird, but she's not that weird. There are theories that she was in love and she wrote to a gentleman, and perhaps she did have a romance, but it's really not certain. A couple of things, though, that are interesting are that she's writing about the same time as Walt Whitman. Okay? Now, her poetry was not published until she was dead. And the poems have numbers because she didn't title them. So typically we know them either by various numbering schemes or just refer to them by the first line. On the test, when we get to a test, don't worry about knowing the first line and don't bother memorizing the numbers because the numbers are arbitrary. She didn't put the numbers on there. But you might be asked to know pieces of poems or something like that. But what is interesting, I think, she went to Mount Holyoke Female Seminary. Okay, it was a Christian school from 1847 to 1848, like college kind of. Ooh, 47 to 48. She was brilliant and graduated? No, not really. She quit. I mean, I'm not saying she wasn't brilliant, but she didn't like go through in a whole year. She quit. She went home. She missed home. And she refused to sign a statement of faith. At this time, it's like if you came into school at Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, they asked you to sign a statement saying you believed these things and you were saved. I mean, to me, that's just a strange thing to do, to sign something to an administration somewhere saying he believes whatever. She refused to sign that. And so instead of, she refused to sign the statement of faith, but her family was very traditional, traditional Protestant. Her family was prominent. Her father was a founder of Amherst College as a Calvinist alternative to Yale and Harvard. I mean, when you think about the fact that her father founded a school so that there would be a Calvinist alternative for students, I mean, that's how important faith was to her family. But if you think about the fact that she refused to make that statement of faith, that signing that, she doesn't really want to define God on paper. She doesn't want to say, this is what I believe about God, and she doesn't want to give a definition to that. Also, maybe there's always that question of what does she believe? And in her poetry, we can see that really there's kind of I think Dr. Mitchell calls it an afterness to her poems. I'm not sure, is that what, do you recall afterness?
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar, okay. I think he calls it, the meaning is not clear in the poem. You don't get an answer. For instance, let's look at 11:29. Tell all the truth, but tell it slant, and now we're all hearing Gilman's Island in our heads, but tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies, too bright for our infirm delight, the truth's superb surprise. Turn to 10 and 58. As lightning to the children eased, with explanation kind, the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind. Now, I take that as almost, it's just in here as another poem. But you can almost take that poem as her guide for how she writes poetry, because what does she write about? I mean, what do you know that she writes about from whenever you've read her? What? Death. A whole lot of poems about death. Now, she also writes about other things as well, but death is probably one of the most prominent things. She writes about nature and birds. Bird came down the walk, he did not know I saw him, he bit an angleworm in half and ate the fellow raw, stuff like that too. She writes about science, and she writes about faith. But death is a very prominent theme. What did she believe about death, Brennan?
She's not like all like self-doom and stuff. She just takes it as it is.
Well, does she believe there is life after death?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's the answer.
Oh yay!
I don't know. Yes. She doesn't. I don't know if she believes in life after death. It's not clear that she knows whether she believes in life after death. Her poetry is asking the questions, and I mean, as Hamlet says, after death, now he says this right after he sees the ghost. You know, it's like if y'all read Hamlet, you know, it's the ghost of his father. We're not real sure it's the ghost of his father, but anyhow, he sees something looks like his dead father, so they say it's the ghost of his father. Yes, his friends. But anyhow, after he has seen that, he says about life after death, he says it is that it's that undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns. How many of you have died and come back to life? Brennan says, okay, these ladies over here have. We're now going to call the people to take them away now. If you, the thing is, it is the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns. We have not met people who have gone and visited the next life and toured around for a while and come back, right? Not too many people have done that. Okay.